And we're live. Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to the Mojo Show, your real estate podcast where we talk everything real estate. I'm your host, Joe Mortgage.
And I'm Cup of Joe Mortgage.
This week's episode, we are actually going to wrap up PAPCAR. Last week, we wrapped up the sixth step of PAPCAR referrals with our good friend Andy Griever. This week, we're going to basically do a recap of everything because there was so much information that was covered in those 6 weeks. We want to review all of it, kind of cover it all again, especially with how much input we had from you, the listeners, and everything. And the kind of the demand of questions and everything that we had. We wanted to just do one more episode. Couldn't get enough of it to wrap everything up. But before we get to that, I know last week, Joe, I had mentioned about the time change that we had last weekend. I'm sorry, it's Wednesday and it's kicking my butt, right?
And I think it's a mental thing for all of us because I would say this week I've been a little bit more sluggish getting out of bed, and I don't know why. And I thought the sun would be up earlier, but it's up later now, so it's throwing me off too. But I've had some challenges this week. We had an awesome weekend with the summit, and I know you weren't able to be there, but that also made me tired too because by the time we wrapped that up, I was tired from Saturday, anyways, and then I lose an hour's sleep on Sunday, so that just didn't help me.
Yeah. Well, and now we've got spring break. Everybody's on, right? I know my daughter's home from spring break. I assume your kids are home from school this week.
Yeah, they are. And I actually, if I'm really delayed on my picture, there it goes. Whenever you put that ticker up, I don't know what it is.
I noticed that.
So,
yeah.
So I'm gonna say it this way. I mean, we're still doing our coffee talk this morning, but guys, today we really want participation from anybody that's watching, viewing. Put some comments in there as we're going through today so we can answer those about what Joe said we're going to be talking about today is PAPCAR, the sales process. But yes, my kids are home for spring break. We decided we weren't going anywhere. My daughter's on JV softball, so she's had practice every day. We had a game on Monday, practice yesterday, another game today, and then she's got practice the rest of the week. And then both of them are still, training for powerlifting. So, we couldn't get out of town this year, and the kids are bummed about that. But I know a lot of people are traveling, so hopefully everybody's being safe on their travels.
Let me ask this, Joe. Did you ever, for spring break, like senior year of high school, it always seems senior year of high school, spring break, the seniors go somewhere like, Florida or whatever, right? Did you ever get to do anything like that?
Not in high school. I was a goody two-shoe in high school. I will tell you the truth.
Wait. Back the bread wagon up. You were what?
I did not party in high school like some. I waited until I went to college to do all that. I was more in the working out, and I actually had straight A's. I don't know what happened to me after I went to college. Maybe I learned how to go out and have some fun. But in college, I did. We went down to Florida when I was in college in Louisiana during spring break, just to kind of get away from Denton because I went to University of North Texas.
Okay.
So it was interesting. I never went to Padre during spring break. Everybody else went to Padre. I stayed away from that one.
Okay.
What about you, Joe? Did you ever go to anywhere?
I didn't. I did not. I mean, living in Michigan, growing up in Michigan, and that as a senior in high school, everybody went south, like Florida, basically, or maybe the Carolinas or something like. But typically, it was Daytona Beach, something like that in Florida that everybody would go to. Nope, I didn't get to. So I just, not that I was a goody two shoe, right? I'm gonna say that. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't, but there's nobody here to claim otherwise. So, but I have to admit, being my daughter is home right now from college. I don't know about you parents out there, but I am enjoying it, even though right now she's sleeping in the other room. So she probably hates me because I'm being loud and talking on the podcast, but it's a part of being in this house. So there you go. right?
She'll enjoy those moments later on when she has her own place.
Well, PAPCAR is what we're here for today. So, as I had said earlier, for those of you that are tuned in and watching, really want to make this a lot about you guys. As we go through, Joe and I are going to go through all 6 steps of PAPCAR, kind of review, the major points that a lot of our guests brought out in each step of the PAPCAR, but as well, we want to hear from you guys, right? We had special guests on to give their viewpoint. We want to hear your viewpoint on each one of these. The first one, Joe, prospecting, right? A lot of us don't like doing it, but you got to do it. In order to be able to give that set an appointment and give the presentation, you got to prospect.
Yeah, Josh did a great presentation on that and kind of went through prospecting and where to find certain ones. And he even had a PowerPoint. It's the first one that we had where he had a PowerPoint.
That we had a PowerPoint. Leave it to Josh for that one.
I started thinking, you're right. A lot of us do not like to prospect consistently. And so I was watching Josh and listening to him. And one of the things when you're going through prospecting and finding who you're going to call, cold calls are the hardest thing out there. Yep. And that's what people think when you think prospecting. Mm-hmm. Well, Josh brought up a lot of great points. We're at different functions in our personal lives mm-hmm. that we're around either real estate agents, financial advisors, accountants. We're around all these people that have a different occupation that we don't truly know what they do, but we've been friends with them for years. Mm-hmm. And so I've started doing more of that when I'm out. If I see people that I know, I'm just talking to them. Mm-hmm. And it's more of a conversation with my friend than it is prospecting. But if I don't know what they do, or if I'm meeting them and they're a newer person that we've started, meeting or seeing around town, I'll go through multiple steps of finding out what they're doing to prospect to see, is this somebody that we have business interests together? Mm-hmm. And I found 2 new relationships to where we're building off. One of them, he's a financial advisor. He does more of the annuities and things like that. So yep. He's got clientele that sometimes when they're wanting to buy a house and stuff. So now I've got a connection there. Mm-hmm. And then another one was a firefighter, and just talking to him about, the firehouse and how many of the younger recruits are coming out that aren't homeowners. And so it was more of just having a conversation. I really took that home because I don't like making the cold calls all the time. They get redundant and people don't really want to talk to you. Yes. But I found some realtors in our sphere that I haven't talked to and I haven't done business with. So it's more of I'm taking it from that triangle of trust that Josh has told us about so many times.
There you go.
You know, how can we connect to where it's not a cold call? And so that's what I worked on the last couple of weeks.
It sounds like it's being developed more organically than just picking up a phone, right? I'm curious again. I know I keep mentioning, but I'm curious. Those of you that are listening in, drop your comments down below. We'd love to hear them. Hear your take on how do you go about prospecting? Is it with networking groups, right? Is it with, those just in your friends or your sphere, if you will, of those that you know? How do you go about prospecting, right? Which also leads us to appointments and setting the appointments. Now, to me, setting the appointments, at least for me, Joe, I want to be able to talk to that person first. And I'm not the cold call type guy. You know that, right? And those of you that have met me, especially realtors, that I probably met you at an open house that you were hosting, right? That you were putting on. Because I love going to open houses. That way I get to meet you face to face. You get to meet me face to face, right? And I don't even set the appointment there. I give you, your space, want you to run your open house because that's what you're there for. And then later in the week, I call you and we get together for coffee or something. That's, to me, there has to be, I'm more comfortable, at least, in knowing a little bit about the person, at least an introduction, right? During that prospecting, before I set the appointment, before I decide if I want to set the appointment even, right? I mean, I've definitely been to some open houses, Joe, that I walk away and I'm like, no, I know we're not going to be a good fit, right?
Okay.
That realtor and I, right? So I like to be able to have that opportunity to see them, because face to face, you get to read a lot more of their body language, right?
Correct.
In that.
Correct.
So I end up setting the appointment later on. And I'm one of those, I learned a long time ago in setting appointments. I learned different techniques in setting appointments. Something that I love to use is what's called alternate choice, right? So if someone wants to get together next week, okay, would Tuesday or Thursday work better? Thursday, great. Would the morning or afternoon work better for you? Right.
Right.
So
So
I'm
you're
giving them
looking at it.
alternate choices. I don't care which one they pick, I win. Right. But I mean, right. But they're going to pick one of them, or they come up with a different answer, which is fine. Right. If it's going to be, lunchtime, whatever, morning, afternoon, pick one. Great.
Yeah. I think what you're doing though is from setting the appointments, you do have to figure out, is this going to be a good fit? Because the most awkward
Yeah.
appointments that I go on are those ones where you have nothing to talk about, you have nothing in common, and it's just about business.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to pose your questions the right way too. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, when you meet them, find out a little bit about them, see if there is going to be a connection, because
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to just go meet somebody in an appointment that you don't know anything about, because
Right.
that's no different than a cold call.
And that's where that Ford comes in,
Mm-hmm.
right? That Josh had talked about, right? Family, occupation, recreation, dreams, right? So when I meet them at an open house, I'm trying to bring those things out to talk to them about, right?
Right.
So that I see if there is some common ground, that we have in common, which is going to make both of us want to, end up getting together for an appointment. So,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And well, yeah, I mean, and then the next series that we talked about, right, or the next part of it, sorry, not series, the next episode, we went into presentation, because you have the prospecting and that appointment. Uh, But what we get too many times is people go straight into a presentation. Josh
Right.
Reed already put up there, Ford for the win. Thanks, Josh, for listening in. We're giving him talks too and all that stuff. But we really appreciate Josh coming on. But going back to it, the presentation part doesn't always have to be at that first meeting. It depending on how it goes, but you have to leave that first appointment with some nugget to get back together.
That's a good
And
point.
we have too many loan officers or loan originators and people in sales in general. I bet you listing agents do this at listing appointments. They make a connection, but they don't have something to follow back up on. And if they didn't do their presentation, so it just looks like you guys are friends, but there was no real interest of doing business together after that appointment. But you don't want to jump into a presentation either, because that is when you get to know that other person. Is there
Right.
going to be a relationship established? And
Mm-hmm.
it could be, how do you end that appointment, if you're not presenting, to make sure you come back around. And we talked about that too, is you really have to find out why they're meeting with you.
Mm-hmm.
Are they meeting with you because you're friends, or are you guys meeting together because they see that there's something that you can give value to them?
Right.
So that's the one thing in appointment I'm trying to figure out, is what value can I bring back to them so I can show them in my presentation what that can be. And I want to make sure people know that an appointment and a presentation can be in the same first meeting,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how that conversation is going, and how much that other person shared. Because if they've shared what somebody else is not doing for them, what they're needing, and you truly already have that focus in your business, then you can present to that person after you got to know them for
Mm-hmm.
for some time during that appointment. So
Yeah.
don't feel like you can't present to them, but don't jump right into presenting without finding out more about the person you're talking to.
So if I'm hearing you correct, Joe, don't give them the solution right up front,
Yes
because
and
we
no.
we we do want to be able to know what is the problem or issue that we can help them fix,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but if you don't know what that problem is, you're just giving a solution to. It's like my wife.
Oh no.
She'll want to come home and talk about, something that's bothering her. Well, before she even gets halfway into telling me about it, I'm already trying to solve it.
Of course. That's what us
I
guys
didn't
do.
listen. I didn't listen to her. Well, and she gets upset with me because when I go on appointments with, realtors or other people, I try to find out what all the problem is first before I try to present it to a solution. And it does drive her nuts. So I do
Can
have
we
to
get
learn
her on the show real quick? Can
no,
we? No.
no, that is not going to happen. No, but it's the truth, right? We want to be that person that, oh, we're the solver, we're the
Yeah,
problem
we
solver,
do.
we've got you, we know what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Great, but what are we doing?
Yeah.
Because if I haven't found out from Joe what your problem is, then I'm pitching solutions for nothing
Yeah.
that could pertain to you.
Yeah.
Because I'm ready to talk about myself because I'm too nervous to find out about you. That's
Right.
the way my presentations come across if I do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think in that presentation, we do need to listen more than talk more. Right.
Yep.
And I know we've all been told that, but we need to listen more. And I think if anything, it's very helpful to me when I do meet with, let's say, a realtor, that I have a pad of paper with me, a small pad of paper, so that as they're bringing things out, I'm writing them down.
Yep.
And actually, Sam is the one that showed me how to. I know we had Sam on back with Aftercare, but which we'll get to shortly. But to be able to write those things down so they visually see it, right? Especially when something's in black and white, it's been written down, then it's true. Is the way a lot of people feel.
True.
So, to be able to write these things down and to be able to, at the end of the meeting, leave them with, you may want to, give a little bit of value to one or two of them, or however many, if there's only one issue or problem, to help them solve. But it's more of, I'm going to work on this so that by the time we get together, our next meeting together, I'm going to have a solution for you on this.
Yeah, and that's where the CPR comes in, because you find out what their cut is, you find out where the pain is, and you push on it,
Right.
and then you come up with the remedy at the end. And that's the nice thing about it, is if you do that properly in the beginning, that presentation and then even the next part, which is the closing, that really is easier for you to do. Amy, thank you. Amy Milton gave us a thumbs up. So thank you for listening. Again, let's remind everybody, if you're watching, we're talking about our PAPCAR series that we just finished. And we really want to hear from all of you about different sections of it, or if you have questions about it, help us out, because Joe, if not, you just get to hear Joe and I. So let's see. Joe, I'm gonna let you take Amy. Just put something out there. I'll let you take it.
Oh, Amy says, then if you repeat their words back to them, you can find out where the pain is. You are absolutely right, Amy. Absolutely. Because then when you repeat the words back to them, it's reaffirming it to them, isn't it? Right. And reaffirming that it is a problem. Right.
Yes.
I would take that even further, Amy, and find out in repeating it back to them, really what is the pain coming from this, right? So that, let's say that, matter of fact, I had met a realtor a few months ago, and she had someone that lives in Mexico, works in Mexico, but they wanted to buy a house here in the United States, right? In the Houston area. Well, with something like that, we can use what's called, and they don't have a social security number. They don't have an EIN number, anything. Well, with that, we use what's called a foreign national loan. She hadn't heard of that. Okay. How many? And so I asked her directly, how many people last year in 2023 did you meet that you could have had a client from using this tool? Right? She thought about it for a minute. She said 3. I said, so you're telling me that there's 3 additional clients you could have had out there had you been working with me. Okay, so out of those 3, what was the average purchase price of a home? 300, 400,000. Okay, what's your commission from that? Multiply that by 3. That's the money that you lost out in last year.
Right.
Right. So it's not only getting them to, repeating that problem back to them, but helping them, like you're saying, the cut, right?
Yep.
And I hate to put it this way, but kind of cut it a little deeper so that they feel it and really, put a monetization to it.
I don't
Right.
know. Sometimes paper cuts hurt me more than the deeper cuts.
Geez,
So
don't get me
give me
started.
that surface cut there. That'll get me sometimes too. You're right though. You found the solution. So when you're in your presentation, you can use that for the closing, like you just did. How many
Mhm.
clients did you miss out on? And that's one thing we are going to be talking about in the future. Is we're going to talk about different products out there for buyers, right? Joe, we talked
Mhm.
about that, having people come on. So having these solutions on, maybe finding out when did you lose something. So that's one thing. And Amy, by the way, she's on here. She's helping out. She works for a financial advisor company.
Yeah.
So if any of you are wanting to reach out to Amy, look her up on Facebook. And Amy, there's a quick shout out for you. Appreciate you coming on and being a part of our show today. So, and that's
Absolutely.
another thing. If you come on, let us know what you do in your comments, and we'll
Yeah.
give you a shout out on here and help
Absolutely.
promote your business too. Because we want real estate agents watching this. It's all about real estate, but it's also about first time home buyers, what they need to do with their money,
Mhm.
for future planning. Sometimes I wish I planned better, especially in the markets we've gone through. But we've got a great team, and what we've got going on, I'm excited about. And
Yeah.
using PAPCAR is one of the reasons that we are being successful.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
so we kind of talked about the first 3 in the presentation. Joe, you hit on the close, and I really
Yeah.
like how you hit on that, because you brought it back to that realtor
Mhm.
from a loss standpoint.
Mhm.
What did you lose because you didn't know about this?
Right.
And I think taking that, and you probably took that to this level, was these are the things that I'm going to make sure you're aware of. Anytime there's a new
Mhm.
product that came out, or a product that maybe is off the wall, I'm going to give you that information.
Mhm.
Not so you can always have those clients, but at least that way, if you're talking to somebody, you have
Mhm.
that opportunity now.
Yep.
So I think that's a great way of closing. Is it's not about, how can I always fix your problems? It's maybe how can I bring something else to the table for
Right. Exactly.
you? And in closing, I think I did that show, and I apologize. I think it was one of our worst ones.
It was not. Come on. My goodness, Joe. It was
But
actually really good. You gave some really good nuggets on that.
closing is asking for the business, and it might
Yeah.
not be business right now, but you still have to ask for it.
Mhm.
I've got a couple of real estate agents that we've met. It was probably 5 months ago. I had coffee with one of them. I had a lunch with one of them. Well, guess what? I got my first leads from both of those real estate agents last month in February,
Nice.
just from us talking. And
Nice.
I appreciate my referral partners that
Yeah.
are sending me people, because you're trusting us.
Right.
Well, that's
Yep.
part of the close. Can we be trusted with somebody that you're working with? Financial advisors. Can we be trusted if you send somebody to us that we're going to do the right thing, and
Mhm.
we're not going to try to pick a company? And that's sometimes that drives me nuts, is you pick a company that's going to go after that person's assets.
Yeah.
And Joe, we have a bunch of loan originators, and I know I'm going to go off topic for a second, but we've been recruiting a lot of loan originators, and they're asking, well, why don't you use this investor, or why don't you use that investor? Well, at the end of the day, we're using investors that don't go after our book of business,
Right. Right.
and when because we're about a relationship. So it might not be we want to shop and always have the lowest rate out there, if we know that once rates turn 0.5%, this other company is going to be calling these clients that don't know the
Right.
client.
Right.
That's not a relationship,
No.
so that's a
Yep.
transaction. So
Yep.
that's one of the parts in the closes. We have certain ones that we know, when they try to get a payoff, we know, hey, we need to get with that real estate agent. Did you know that they're trying to sell their house? Have they contacted
Mhm.
you? That way we can bring business back to them.
Exactly.
And that's why I really like the investors we use, because they give us that opportunity.
Well, and in going back to the close, and we want to get to aftercare and referrals here pretty quick, because we are.
I was wondering if we're going to get through this in 30 minutes.
I know. With the close, though, everything that we do before the close, and the close is really, as you pointed out on that episode, it's asking for the business, right? It's asking for but before doing that, everything that we do before that has to be about building trust, building relationships, differentiating yourself from everyone else, right? Because then you're giving yourself the permission really to ask for that business, essentially. And I think those three things, out of anything that we went through, and I know for you, Joe, but especially for me, PAPCAR, going through the series has really helped me to really focus everything, that my phone calls, everything, on each step of PAPCAR. When I look at all of it, though, to me, it really comes down to these three things: relationships, trust, differentiating yourself, right? In all of these steps, that's what you're doing. Those three things in the prospecting and appointment setting, in the presentation and the close, right? All of that, but then continuing it with the aftercare and the referrals, so that, just in building that trust and relationship, differentiating yourself, just like you mentioned that realtor on last episode that gets referrals, not even asking for them.
Right.
Because she's built that trust. She's built that relationship. She's differentiated herself from everyone else. Right.
Well, we talk about brand.
Yes.
We've got Tyler. Tyler has a bunch of different brands, but one of the ones that's been really out there is the gap from the airplane and the sky bridge, right?
Yeah, the walkway.
And Tyler started doing that, and now it's every time somebody takes a picture, they think of Tyler. And then Nash has his Crocs. Crocs are for closers. He wears Crocs, and I'm not a Croc guy, but people tag him on Facebook, on social media, because that's a brand.
Yes.
Brands choose you a lot of times. Cup of Joe Mortgage. It kind of just came around because I drink a ton of coffee. I like to meet people over coffee.
Yes.
It's just the way that I am.
Yes.
So that brand is good, but I don't know if somebody thinks of, when they're drinking coffee, if they think of Joe. I'm hoping that it gets there. So, but that the one thing about PAPCAR is, if you do those first ones great, then you'll get some referrals. But if you do those last two just amazing,
right,
guess what? Your referrals are always coming back from your database, which are your relationships and your past clients.
Yes.
Your aftercare is not just a drip email. Do something different in aftercare. And Sam brought that home. Sam really talked about aftercare, and I really appreciated him being on the show. And Sam, if you're listening, thank you. He is one of the busiest guys I know when it comes to coaching and trying to help others. So him giving us 30 minutes of his time was awesome. But that aftercare is a big part of that next one of asking for referrals.
So those of you out there that are listening in, what do you do for aftercare after the sale is completed? And that, what do you do? What's that plus one, as Joe and I say, what's that plus one that you do in providing aftercare for your clients? If there is any, drop it in the comments below. We'd love to hear it, right? Not that Joe and I have all the answers. What's that?
Well, I said we got a comment as you were asking for it.
What do we get here? Chris? There you go, Chris. Just ask, right?
that is the biggest part that I think we said it on the show too, is if you don't ask for the referrals,
right,
you're not going to get them.
If you don't ask for the business, you're not going to get it. Right.
And asking for referrals, if you did the aftercare right, they remember who you are. I've got 2 clients right now because they were referred to me from family members, and I did loans for those family members.
Okay.
So that is another thing. We're getting into seasons where a bunch of my age, your age, Joe, the kids of people we help are starting to graduate college, or they've been in the workforce for a time. Like my nephew, he's 2-3 years out of high school. He's going to become a master plumber or journeyman or whatever you want to call that. I'm horrible about it, so I apologize if I just messed that up. He's already been working for those 3 years and building up. He's wanting to try to look to buy a house. 20 years old. And it's awesome.
That's awesome.
But that's where, if we do that aftercare part right, we have people referring to us that are their trusted family members. There's your triangle of trust that goes back
there you go. Back to it.
So, it all kind of goes together. And that's the one thing about PAPCAR that I really enjoyed.
Yeah. Good stuff.
And, we got to give a shout out. Renee Rodriguez is who brought PAPCAR to us. Amplify is his book. If you look up Renee Rodriguez, he's great with this information. I know I'm giving him a plug. Hopefully I don't have copyrights of saying it, but I really recommend going out there and getting Renee Rodriguez's book and going to any of his AmCon shows that you can get to. And really, if you want to better yourself, one, if you're a loan originator looking for a company that does that, I'm going to give us a plug. Give us a call. We're looking for strong loan originators that want support, want coaching, want to better themselves. We're looking for real estate partners, to partner up with. Guys, we want to be somebody you go to and ask questions to. We want people to come to the podcast to learn, but also participate.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. And I know I took over for a second, Joe. I gave a lot of plugs there. So,
yes, this show is sponsored by.
Well, one day
we will. One day we will, I swear. Which brings me to my next point. And as we start to kind of wrap things up, because we are over our 30 minutes already, amazing how quick that goes, and talking about the 6 different points of PAPCAR. But our shameless plug here, if you like the show, please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. It is our mission, our goal for this year to get to 1,000 subscribers, and we need your help with that. Tell your friends, tell your coworkers, and that go there. It's the Mojo Show Real Estate Podcast. You can look it up on YouTube. You'll be able to find it. If not, reach out to us. We'll help you get there. But please go there, subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers this year, and we need your help with that. Next week.
Joe, how can they get to us, Joe? Can you put the ticker up for them to know what our...
Can I do that? I don't know.
Yeah, it might freeze me, but I'll try not to move.
Well, if you want to get a hold of us as far as email to reach out to us, of course, you can get us on our Facebook pages. But if you have questions or other comments than that, the Mojo Show podcast at gmail.com. You can definitely shoot us an email there to get a hold of us for anything additional. And if you're having problems getting to our YouTube channel, give us a shout on that Gmail and we'll help you get there as well. Next week, folks, we are going to have Brian Quinn, in regards to credit reports, credit repair, and all that. I'm really looking forward to this one because I know a lot of people that we meet, Joe, they're hesitant about applying for a mortgage because they don't think their credit is good enough, right? Or they may have some dings in the past. Maybe there was a couple bills last year because times were tough in our economy today. So they let a couple months lapse and they don't feel okay. Brian is going to come on and help all of us in regards to credit repair, breaking down credit reports and that to be able to help you, because you can get a home, right? It may not be today, maybe 3 months from now or 6 months from now or 12 months from now, but you can. And it's just a matter of being equipped with the right information about your credit report and getting it in line so that you can. So join us next week when Brian comes on. We'll talk all about credit reports. Anything left there, Joe, before I close this out?
Just to add on, Brian has helped a couple of my clients go from, a score that doesn't qualify to now they're looking for homes. So you want to tune in, and it's not always about repair. It's also about building. It's also about restoration. So come on next week, listen and ask questions and participate.
Absolutely. Everyone that did listen in, thank you so much. And we appreciate all your comments. I'm Joe Mortgage, and that handsome guy over there with the beard on is Cup of Joe Mortgage, and we'll see you next week.
Mr.